Hi guys and girls, Harry McKenzie from Visordown.com. Hope you're all doing well. So today and for the past couple of weeks I've been lucky enough to ride this Honda CBR900RR from 1996. Now the reason Honda lent this out to us was because they were kind enough to invite us to Goodwood Festival of Speed, where they were celebrating 60 years of Honda motorcycles. And what better a bike to turn up on than a classic 96 blade. This bike's a proper head turner and at its time was one of the lightest and best handling, quickest bikes that you could buy. And we're about to see what it handles like in the modern age. So the model before this actually had a slightly smaller engine than 900cc, so it was around about 886cc I believe. But from 1996 onwards to around, I can't remember the exact year, but for a good few years, it was actually a 919cc inline 4 Honda engine. It's pushing out around about 126 brake horsepower, and it's probably lost a few ponies since it was made, because it's almost the same age as me. So this bike's around about 23, almost 24 years old. So it's probably lost a few ponies since then. But riding this bike, the engine is impeccable, to be honest. Obviously it's got the classic carburetors and they are smooth as anything. There is just a slight initial jerkiness as you just crack on the throttle a little bit, but once you sort of carry on pulling through the rev range, it's so smooth, so predictable, so tractable, and actually quite good fun. And I always think the power of around about sort of 115 to 130 brake is kind of the ideal power for the road, because it's not going to get you in too much trouble and it's actually good fun. You know, a lot of modern super bikes, even the few models after this, when they started creating 1000cc Fireblades, the power is actually a little bit scary. So with this, it's fun, it's tractable, and just enjoyable. Yeah. When it was first manufactured, it claimed a top speed of 160 mph. Now, because I've been road testing it and I'm on my best behaviour, I haven't got to that speed. I don't know what the top speed of it will be now, but that'll be something quite interesting to find out. But yeah, cracking engine, lovely and smooth, really balanced, especially when you're doing motorway speeds. It just stays put. You know, a lot of newer super bikes with fuel injection, they kind of creep. You could be at sort of 70 mph and it kind of creep a little bit and creep under and so forth, but this just stays completely constant. And yeah, it's quite a dream to ride actually. I'm really excited to kind of bond with it a bit. Now I'm going to be honest, I haven't really done my homework on the exact type of fork that it is, because it doesn't really have any brand on it, but it's a conventional right side up fork. It's got compression, preload and rebound adjustment on it as well, so it's got all the adjustment that you could desire. And the rear, same setup, monoshock, and yeah, does the job. To be honest, the rear is probably a little bit understrung for me personally, but you know, you could easily dial that out. Where I haven't got it for a long period of time, there's no point me trying to play around with the suspension, but I think the suspension is really good. It's plush, it's not bone shaky, which is quite nice. And yeah, it does the job. Now this is an interesting one because I've ridden older bikes in the past, main one being a GSXR Strad, the 600 Strad, and 750 as well. And they were a little bit hesitant, I suppose you could say. But this, it's really nimble, which surprised me a lot. But then again, when this bike sort of first was created, it was created to be light, it was created to be nimble. And a lot of people that rode this bike back then in 1996, they said it's almost a bit flighty and a bit too lightweight, if you will, because bikes at the time were quite heavy, bigger cc, more power. But this is a bit of a corner muncher, to be honest, which is to be expected from the Fireblade series. I mean, Honda have always made good handling sports bikes, and this is no exception. I wouldn't say it's flighty at all. I'd say compared to modern bikes, they're a lot more nimble, a lot more flickable, definitely a bit more stable, especially when you come off and on the power in mid-corner. You can feel this it's got a little bit of free play, if you will. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's got a little bit of movement on it when you come on and off the throttle. It's not that kind of seamless progression through the corner, but it does handle well and you can have a lot of fun on it, and I have been doing, as you can see from the onboard right here. So the brakes, we've got Nissan calipers on the front and about 200 or 198 millimeter dual front disc setup. They're 4-piston calipers, and yeah, I mean, they're 23 years old. Not the best brakes in the world. The rear brakes are alright actually. That's a single piston sort of single disc brake setup on the rear as you'd expect. But if you use the brakes, you know, if you grab a handful of the brakes, they do work. As I say, I love the engine. I like the handling, and yeah, perhaps also I like the dash as well. The classic dash. You know, it kind of reminds you of the old 2-strokes back in the day. You know, you watch any classic TT races or anything like that, and you see that dash, which will ping up now, but you see that and it kind of gives you all these kind of sweet memories of retro racing and whatnot. So I do like the dash, and I like the way this bike makes me feel. It makes me feel like I'm taking a step back in time, but without the sort of dodginess of older bikes and a lack of performance. This in the hands of someone way more talented than me would give modern bikes a good run for their money on the road, especially around corners. So there's a lot to like about this bike. Now you can pick these bikes up for anywhere from about £3,000 if they're in a bit sort of rubbish condition, to anywhere from sort of 6.5 if they're pristine models like this. Is it worth the money? I think it depends how old you are. I mean, this bike is a proper conversation starter. The amount of people that, mostly guys in their, you know, sort of middle-aged men, that have stopped me and said, that bike's absolutely gorgeous. That bike's special, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's so nice to hear that this bike, no matter how old it is, can still evoke that kind of passion and those memories that those older men, but who were once younger men, had with this machine when it first came out. So this is something special, and when people stop you in the street, you kind of realise how special it is, and then when you start riding it as well, it just, everything clicks and it makes sense. And you know, Honda's motto, the best sports bike for the road, it starts to make sense because it's just so rideable, so enjoyable, and looks pretty gorgeous, to be honest. I love it. I think it's cracking. And if you have been thinking of getting one or saving the pennies to get one, definitely do, because you will not be disappointed. So thanks Honda for inviting me to Goodwood, and thanks for lending this beautiful bike out to me. And yeah, if you like to see these retro bikes get reviewed and spoken about, make sure you like and subscribe, and yeah, much more to come. Harry McKenzie for Visordown.com. Peace out.